2017 Ford Transit 250 with the 3.5 V6, and today we're doing the front pads and rotors. Let's get to it. All right, first step's going to be to remove the tire. They are held on with 5 lug nuts. These are 13/16 for your impact. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and rotate your steering knuckle. The rear caliper bolts are held on with 2 15mm bolts. You can see right here, one right here, one right here. One's spinning. If you get one that spins, right here you can see right here in this part how that's spinning. You just need to get yourself a pair of channel locks or a pair of pliers to hold that piece down in the back. Like so. Go ahead and get your caliper. Place it out of the way. Go ahead and remove your brake pads. Next, we can go ahead and remove the caliper bracket. Caliper bracket is held on by 2 bolts in the rear. These are the same as your lug nuts, the 13/16. And next, the part that sets this vehicle apart from most others is that it requires a special T50 6-inch torque bit. And what you need to do is put it down the odd bolt holes, and if it goes in deep, you know you've gone too far. So you need to rotate until you find where it fights back a little bit. And what you're actually going to be doing here is you'll be unbolting the 5 bolts that hold the wheel bearing to the steering knuckle. Once you get one lined up, the other 4 should be lined up as well. And with those 5 out, make sure you have your hand on your rotor, and that whole piece will come right off. All right, the bolts holding the wheel bearing to the rotor are held in with a 13mm. And there you have your wheel bearing and hub assembly, and the rotor have been separated. With your new rotor in place, go ahead and put the wheel bearing down. Make sure that it is lined up with the holes properly. All right, once all 5 bolts are started, you want to be able to press this thing down onto the rotor, and it might fight you a little bit. There we go. See how it's flush here now? So now all bolts are exposed. And with those down, our new rotor is ready to be installed. You can go ahead and line it up with the holes on the steering knuckle. Go ahead and make sure that your surface area is clean. If you live in a state that has a lot of rust, it would be a very good idea to hit this to give yourself a nice new clean surface. Do be careful of your wheel speed sensor right here, this little plastic sensor sticking out. Make sure you don't hit that. But other than that, go ahead and start that first bolt. Alright, and now that we know the rotor's not going to fall off, we want to go ahead and start all 5 of them. Just a couple turns. So we know that the wheel bearing is lined up with the steering knuckle. And from that point, we can go ahead and start putting them all down. Just slightly tight. And once all of them are down and everything is flush, go back and put them down. There you have it. Go ahead and turn our rotor one more time. I'm sorry, turn the steering knuckle one more time. Unfortunately, our brake pads did not come with new hardware, but these look to be in pretty good shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and give them a nice scraping. If you live in a state with a lot of salt and rust, go ahead and replace your hardware. And even if you have to take your hardware off, make sure that you scrape underneath your hardware before you install your new hardware, because you'll get a bunch of buildup from rust gathering in here as well. Go ahead and put our caliper bracket back on. Go ahead and check our slide pins for retention. Make sure they're nice and lubricated. These ones feel great. Next, let's go ahead and put a little bit of some brake part lubricant. This is the purple stuff. I've been using this basically my whole career, and I really like the stuff. Just put a little dab of it right where the brake pads sit, so that way they don't lock up and they're able to slide on the caliper bracket like they're supposed to. Put your brake pads in. Beautiful. And go ahead and reset our caliper. Get your old brake pad, handy dandy C-clamp, and start pressing that down. And yes, I know they make special tools for pushing back the brake calipers. I've owned a bunch of them, and they break after about 6 months to a year. And I've had this C-clamp for 7 years. And it's never let me down yet. So, this is what I do. I know that there's tools for it, but why spend money when this works just as good? Let's go ahead and put our caliper back on, keeping mind of the slide pins as we're installing it. As you can see on this one right here, just push the pin in and that caliper will pop right down into place. When these rotors are shipped from the manufacturer where they're made, they put oil on them so that they don't rust while they're in storage. Make sure you give these a good spray down with some brake parts cleaner or just brake cleaner. Front and back. And that keeps the oil from smoking or burning, and your brake pads will also absorb that oil, and it could take a little bit of life off of the pads. If it does that, cause them to swell. I've heard a bunch of stories, but just to be safe, that's what I recommend doing, spraying your new rotors down whenever you're putting new rotors on. Right. And with that, now you're good to go. Put your tire back on. If this video helped you out, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.